Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm the host, Lewis Bright Raven, 33-year veteran creator, editor, and publisher of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. It's Monday. That means it's Monday Manga. We missed last week because I was busy doing some other things, so I got my schedule a little bit screwed up. So we're doing Ghost in the Shell, the Human Algorithm tonight. We're finishing up, or should I say catching up on the series up to date. And, pardon me, just finished eating dinner. The schedule was supposed to be Ghost in the Shell last week, Gunsmith Cats this week, tonight, and then Friday we would have a special Halloween episode. Because of what happened last week, we're going to cover Algorithm tonight. Wednesday, we'll have a special manga episode. I don't normally do Wednesday episodes at all. I'm going to do a Wednesday episode to talk about Gunsmith Cats, and then we'll do our scheduled Halloween special where we will start reviewing Kaiju number 8. So that's what we're doing for the week on manga side. So let's get started with tonight's review. Ghost in the Shell, The Human Algorithm, Volumes 5 and 6 from Kodansha Comics. Writer Junichi Fujisaku with translation by Stephen Kohler. Artist Yuki Yoshimoto, lettering by Paige Pumphrey. Editor for the English edition is Ben Applegate. The digest format, black and white, 240 pages for Volume 5, 336 pages for Volume 6. Age rate would be 16 plus for violence and nudity. And these issues were released on June 17th, 2025 and September 16th, 2025, respectively. What it's about. Tagusa and Tsunagi are racing after a fleeing suspect when a van suddenly slams into the suspect's car, killing the van driver instantly. As Tagusa looks into the man's cerebrain, he sees residual images of a group of children and a masked figure who says, "I am a warrior." Later, an autopsy yields a shocking revelation. The driver was killed not by the collision, but by a neurotoxin derived from the venom of the African black mamba. Section 9 needs answers, and so Tagusa and Tsunagi get sent halfway across the world to the Sahel Special Economic Zone. Using their honeymoon as a cover, the two trace the black mamba-sate venom used in the assassination to an oasis outside the zone that is part of the Gili tribal lands. While they're gone, a coup rocks the Medici Republic that governs Sahel, and General Mosey seizes control, sparking conflict with the liberation forces of the Gili. What does snake venom have to do with a civil war rising from the baked desert sands? That's the question that is key to Tagusa breaking the case wide open. Afterwards, in Volume 6, hesitant to hurt others but longing to protect his family, Achille, who is a young boy from the Gili lands, has been conned into undergoing a ceremony where he thinks he's been chosen from among all others to Dada's terrifying prosthetic and fearlessly light the fire of revolution. In fact, however, he's been poisoned with a cyber drug derived from the venom of the black mamba, one that renders him nearly fearless and his cyber brain susceptible to the installation of whatever new software his puppeteers desire. Meanwhile, Tagusa and Tsunagi's murder investigation, Patao's failed training mission, a child organ harvesting ring, and a Chinese spy's greed all intersect and collide, setting up disaster against the backdrop of the brutal Sahara. The stage is set for an explosive climactic conclusion in the final 2 volumes of the series, because this will run another 2 volumes. So what did I think? Well, Yoshimoto's art took a little bit of a downturn in these volumes, in my opinion. It's still high-quality work, but there's a lot more digital composition and an overuse of gray tones, which diminished his line work, I think. That line work was very uniform and very thin in a lot of pages, and just with the gray shading and computer shading, he lost a lot of depth perception and the art became more reliant upon the color of the gray tones to create depth perception, and it just wasn't as strong as the previous volumes where he was more reliant on his line art. That's not to say that the art isn't good. It's still good. It's just not as good, in my opinion. The story is still a slow burn as Fujisaka starts putting all the story elements and pieces into the converging point. The characterization of the characters is strong, particularly between Tagusa and Tsunagi. However, I did not care for Pato's arc in this because I just don't feel like he'd be as lost within himself without the major as he's being kind of portrayed in this storyline. I get it. I'm not saying it's wrongly executed. I just feel like Bateau is a lot more independent of the major than what they're driving at. I felt like he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have his head straight. Well, I understand why. I think they're overplaying it, I guess, is the best way I can explain that. The assassin and villains of the piece are intriguing as well, particularly the new characters. See the cover of Volume 5, which I'll show you again in a second. The politics and the different collectives at play here are certainly enough to keep your interest as a reader. Moving forward, I am hoping that Yoshimoto's work returns to the better line weight efforts that he demonstrated in the first 2 or 3 volumes of the series. But even if he doesn't, the last 2 chapters should wrap up things fairly well based on the pacing of the story so far. I give both volumes 4 out of 5 stars. Let's take a quick look at the artwork. This, again, is New, the villain, the assassin character. Looks cool on the cover there. Let's see if she's in the back here. No, it's in the back of 6. All right. But let me show you what I mean about kind of relying a little bit much on the grayscale tones. That looks great for a computer graphic, for your sky. And yeah, that's fine. But you kind of lose some of this stuff as you keep going through it. It's all about drawing computer generated backgrounds. Trying to get there we go. Instead of drawing the characters and drawing the background. And it kind of, you lose a little bit of your figure depth, you lose a little bit of your construct of story that way. And then, okay, we get a picture. Well, let's do another, skyscape behind the picture to try and make it look right. And I'm just, everything's about these skies, and it's all digital. And I'm not really fond of that. The earlier issues, which I don't have them right with me, he's more reliant on creating levels of depth. And there's still the use of computer shading, which is fine, but it's complementary to the line art and not dominant element of the art. I hope that makes sense from what I'm saying. A lot of the line weight that you see is very, very thin, very, very similar line weight. And it's not that it looks bad, far from it. It just isn't, it just feels a little bit flat and one-dimensional comparative to the previous issues. Now, I was talking about New again, the assassin on the cover. Let's go ahead and pull that volume 6 out and go to the back of the book here. Should have it, unless I missed it somehow. I guess I missed it. Maybe it was in volume 5. Let me check again. um, yes, it was. All right, there he is in volume 5. He said this giant gardening scissors that he cuts people's lips off. But I mean, sorry about the nudity shot there briefly there, but that is why it's 16 and up. But yeah, I mean, he's a interesting character there, but and of course he's asked to assassinate that woman, but he's falling in love with her, so he's not going to do that. He's going to betray the people that hired him, apparently. So it's going to be quite an interesting thing there. But overall, it's a decent story. It takes place between certain points of canon in the Ghost in the Shell storyline, leading into the Netflix series that's supposed to be coming with Ghost in the Shell moving forward. So hopefully people will like that. Okay. And again, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay. So like I said, this week we got 3 episodes. Wednesday, we'll have a special Wednesday episode where we cover the Gunsmith Cats Omnibus Book 2. And then Friday, October 31st, Halloween Day, we'll have a Friday episode in the afternoon. Both of these will be taking place in the afternoon instead of the evening. And we'll start covering Kaiju number 8 with volume number 1. And that is what we'll be doing for manga. And then next week, we'll be back on regular schedule with Kaiju number 8, starting with volume 2. As for the rest of the week, tomorrow is crowdfunding night. We'll be talking about some of the books I've received recently in the mail that I backed. And we'll be talking about, just showing those books. I don't have time to review them yet. Thursday, we'll be reviewing our books where we got last week's books and this week's books to review. So there's going to be quite a lot of stuff there. And then on Friday, let me think here. I'm trying to remember which movie. I know it was Tales from the Crypt 72. I don't know. I'm pretty confident that was the one we picked. Or the randomizer picked, I should say. Let me check again real quick here. Yes, that is the one. It is Tales from the Crypt from 1972, featuring Joan Collins, Peter Cushing, Richard Green, Patrick McGee, and others. So, quite a cool thing there that we'll be watching there. That'll be our Friday Halloween night episode. So that's what we got going on this week. And thank you for watching our episode. If you have questions or suggestions on what you want us to cover here on the show, reach out to me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. You can see more of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven exclusively on YouTube. And if you can't reach me on social media, try me on Gmail, Quoth the Raven LBR72. If I'll get back to you on that one, try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. Pretty much do get in touch with people when they get back to me. I try to reply fairly quickly. So there you have it, folks. And that is all for tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.